Hello Tamers, and welcome back to another deck profile, this time about Gammamon. As always, I'm Regina, or Regigglypuff, and thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. Now, some background really quickly. I love Gammamon with like all of my heart. It was one of my favorite Digimon when it got released in Ghost Game. I bought the sim for it, like the little wrist sim for it. I bought plushies. I have a deck box and sleeves of Gammamon. That's how much I love this Digimon, and so I was building this deck for a really long time, and it was fine, but with the release of World Convergence, it kind of got a really cool boost with a lot of the cards that came out, just technically for the Hiro deck, but you could use it in Gammamon, and I'm so happy to finally see it have kind of a place in the spotlight. There are a bunch of different ways to build this deck, and I am still consistently testing this deck because I feel so overwhelmed with all the choices, but this is what I felt with comfortably so far. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, we're going to start off with our Digi-Eggs, and the only Digi-Egg we're going to be running is a 4 of the Gurimon from the set from BT21. Why? It's actually the best egg for the consistent draw power. As much as I love the old Gurimon that's whenever you tuck a card underneath its sources, you draw a card, this one is just whenever you attack with Gammamon in the text with the Hiro trait, you draw one. It works for every single card in this deck. There's not a single non-Gammamon related deck card that we're running in this deck, so you'll always have that consistent draw power. And now we're going to go into our rookies. This is part 1 of our rookies. We're going to be running 4 of the RB01, the RB1 Gammamon. This one is the Searcher one. It searches for most of the deck, and by most of the deck, I mean because it specifies a Hiro Amanokawa, you can only pick up that specific tamer in there. It's not Hiro Amanokawa in the text, right? But it does add 1 card with Gammamon in its text, which is essentially the entire deck. So theoretically, if you were really hurting for tamers, you could actually pick up 2 Hiros, because the Hiro will have Gammamon in the text, and then it'll have Hiro Amanokawa. The Inherit helps boost the power for DP based deletion. It also helps make sure that your Digimon is a little bit larger than some other Digimon. 2k DP is actually a significant amount, believe it or not, right? We're also running 4 of the Gammamon from BT8. I have this in 4 different printings, I think. The first printing I got of this was actually from Digifest all those years ago. Shout out to the ones who remember. Now this has an effect of your turn. Once per turn, when you play a red tamer, you draw 1. So it's an extra source for draw power. This is actually one of the more flexible Gammamon spots that you could actually use. In all honesty, the other reason I really like it is the Inherit deletes floodgates. Now, as you play this deck, you realize there's a lot of ways to delete Digimon on the board, but having the extra ability to delete multiple bodies, like really early on, is also really helpful. It does have a DP based check on there, but all your level 4s will hit that threshold. So once you evo into the level 4, you'll be able to get that one attacking effect. And honestly, being able to delete floodgates is just always really important to me. Now, our next set of rookies is actually going to be the Gammamon from this set. This is the BT21 Gammamon, and we're running this out of 4 of. It allows for a warp evolution in a pinch, so essentially once you've been knocked down to 2 security left, you're allowed to go ahead and warp into a Siriusmon for a cost of 4. So you go from Gammamon to Siriusmon. We'll probably never actually reach 3 more Hiro trait tamers with different names, because there's only 1 Hiro trait that we're running in here. So you can ignore that part, but once you hit 2 or fewer security cards, then this is going to be live. Again, the Inherit does also help DP based deletion, and it also does help with like battle. The most important thing about this card specifically is if you're using trainings, you can use this alongside evolution reduction. It works the same way as warped evolution for Vmon and for Gammamon, and those things that say, oh, when you meet this requirement on your turn, etc., you can evo for a reduce the cost of this one, and you can just actually stack that as well, or sorry, for like an evolution cost of such and such. So I think it's a really cool idea. If you find space for trainings in here, go for it. But that concludes our rookies, because now we're going to go into our champions, or chocolates if you watch Ghost Game, but these are our level 4s. We're going to start off with 3 of the BetelGammamon from BT21. This one actually was a really hard one to include in here, specifically because I loved the RB1 BetelGammamon, because I loved Raid, but being able to play multiple free tamers essentially is so much better than its RB counterpart, because the RB counterpart cares if you already have a Hiro Amanokawa out on the field. The BetelGammamon just cares if you have 1 or fewer tamers, right? Again, the Inherit, the plus 2k, if once you start stacking them, it actually does add up and make a difference. So it makes your level 5s and your level 6s and your level 7 larger, and it means you can clear a lot more on your opponent's side of the field. We're getting to a spot in Digimon where it feels like sometimes like 13 and 14k DP is just not enough, and that's such a wild thing to say. The other splash of color we're actually adding into this is from the Gammamon from RB1. We're running these at a 2 of. I love this one because it's a blocker, and I think blockers are becoming more and more important in the format. Yeah, piercing is also like a prevalent thing, and so is like resting your opponent's Digimon, but I think having the ability to have a blocker on the field is always just a really nice kind of fallback to have, especially because there's ways to bring back this blocker from your trash or like play it from your hand for free, and there's a way to give this blocker effect to another Digimon. So I love piercing, and I wanted to play the Gammamon with piercing, but I think in this instance, I think blocker is just a little bit better overall. Now, our next set of level 4s, we're going to start off with this GulusGammamon from RB1. We're running the set at 2 of. Now, why I think it's a good removal, and it replaces the body for the removal. By this, I mean its end of attack is you can delete the GulusGammamon to delete an opponent's Digimon whose DP is less than or equal to the deleted Digimon's DP. So it can delete itself to kill something on your opponent's side, and then you can play a Gammamon from your trash without paying the cost. If you evolve this on top of a Gammamon, you can play that Gammamon from your trash onto the field. It will play suspended, but it means you can usually recycle your searchers. Because of the inherits from specific Gammamon, you can make this a minimum 8,000 DP body that's swinging into security, and then at the end of that check, if it survives, which honestly, surprisingly enough, it does survive a lot of checks, you can delete itself to delete an 8k DP body on your opponent's side of the field. And in my experience, that usually means a level 5. And using a level 4 to kill a level 5 is so like backbreaking sometimes to opponents, especially if they're running a deck that usually relies on a single body. We're also going to be running this GulusGammamon from this set. This is BT21 GulusGammamon. We're going to be running this at a 3 of. Now, I love this one because it's a security Digimon that's also a level 4, and the most fun part about it being a security Digimon is that it has an on play that's also the same as its when Digivolving, and you can place a Digimon card with Gammamon in its name from your hand or trash at its bottom Digivolution card, and then you delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So if they hit this from your security, one, it'll still do battle, so it'll still have to fight a 6,000 DP Digimon, but on the on-play, you can tuck something underneath to help you set up for the next turn, but it also means that you can get rid of another body on their side of the field. And lastly, the reason I love this one is Retaliation is such a good inherit. It is probably one of my favorite inherits because it always makes your opponent question or think about how they're going to attack into whatever Digimon has the Retaliation effect. And I think it's actually just a fantastic inherit to have. So now that brings us to our level 5s. We're going to be running a 2 of the Regulusmon from this set, which is BT21, and it has an on-play and a 1 Digivolving effect. By trashing a card with Gammamon in its text specifically, you can give one of your opponent's Digimon collision and tag it with start of main phase. This Digimon attacks. Collision on the right Digimon is absolutely terrifying. This does require you to really understand your opponent's deck to know which Digimon you want to force them to attack with at the start of their main phase. So, always ask and make sure you're reading the stacks that they have out on the other side of the field, just in case, because when I was testing, I did mess up on the collision aspect. I'm not really used to using collision as often. I do think it's a really neat keyword that they've been giving Digimon. Collision is actually really stressful to play around sometimes, so if you choose the right Digimon to force that that collision and that start of main phase trigger, you can actually throw them off of their game plan, right? And the other neat part is the on deletion can chain into the right Canoweis. The Canoweis that pairs up with this one from BT21 also has an on play when Digivolving effect, so you can basically get a 2-for-1. You might lose a body, but you're able to at least play out a Canoweis from there, because you can play a Canoweis or a level 4 or lower Digimon card with Gammamon. So this also works really well with the BT21 GulusGammamon, or it can work with the Gammamon if you need another blocker on the field. The on deletion is also part of its inherit. It's just not letting you play a Canoweis because that would be absolutely busted for an inherit. Now, again, the inherit lets you play out a body, so again, you can play out a blocker, you can play out a GulusGammamon. Those would probably be your two best choices to play out from your trash, right? Now we're going to be talking about this Canoweissmon. This is the RB1 Canoweissmon, and I'm running this set at 3 of. Now this one evolves for 3 cost on top of Gammamon. More importantly, one of your Gammamon that has a Digivolution card with Gammamon in its name can Digivolve into this card in your hand for a cost of 3. So it is also another Warp Evolution target. It is a little bit more lackluster in some ways in comparison to its BT21 counterpart and its original BT8 counterpart. I missed the BT8 counterpart, which gives you security attack +1, but I had to cut that one to make space for this one and the BT21 version. What I love about this Canoweis though is that its inherit and all turns effects allows for a really scary stack. Its all turns, which is both on the Canoweis itself and its inherit, says that this Digimon gains all effects of cards with Gammamon in their names in this Digimon's Digivolution cards. So essentially if you play it like a specific way, right, what you can do is you gain like the 1 Digivolving effects if you tuck it underneath and you Evo on top of it. So you get all those 1 Digivolving effects. You can get like the on play effect, or like the BT8 Gammamon is when you play a red Tamer. So you can Evo into this, play a Tamer, and then you can get all of those effects as well. This one used to be a lot better in like the RB version of the deck because it was meant to give you all the inherits of Gammamon's multiple branched evolutions. But this does mean that if you have a Wizengammamon tucked underneath it, it is also a blocker. And then one of the GulusGammamons that we have also has an inherit of retaliation, so it's a blocker that has retaliation, which is a really neat thing to do. If you stack it properly, actually, you should be able to give the 1 Digivolving effects to whatever you evolve on top of this, so long as it's already been tucked before the 1 Digivolving happens. Because you could technically run the BetelGammamon that has Blitz, because you can tuck the Blitz one underneath here, even to a 6, and then swing. So, yeah, I love that. Now, Ultimates Part 2. This Canoweissmon from BT21 is an absolute godsend. We are running this at a 4 of. 7,000 DPI removal targets a level 5 for a lot of the time. And it's really, really neat to be able to kill something like that. It has synergy with a Regulusmon to be able to be played out. And yeah, sure, like 7k DP, cool, that's awesome. The most important thing about this Digimon is the inherit. This is what Gammamon decks were actually really, really missing. This is such a scary inherit, and it's exactly what this deck kind of needed. When this Digimon with Gammamon in its text would leave the battle area by your opponent's effects, you can trash 3 cards from its sources so it doesn't leave. It is only a once per turn. This was once described to me as Red Machine Dramon, and like honestly that's probably the best way to look at it with this Canoweis. It's basically just good protection, right? So if it would leave the battlefield, it's not even by like deletion or like effects like that. It's just, oh, you're gonna move it off the battlefield. No, I'm gonna pop all of these like these sources, and so you can just protect it that way. And I genuinely think that this is one of the best inherits that they could have given this deck, because it's exactly what it was missing, and it makes the deck a lot more viable. So I'm very happy about it. Now we're gonna head into our level 6s. So we're going to start with the Arcturusmon from RB1. We're running this as a 3 of. It does evolve for a pretty hefty cost, regardless of whether you're evolving it. I guess it's like for a 4 on top of a Gammamon in text, and that's the only time you'll ever have to really worry about that. But 4 is still a lot for a level 6, right? But the stack for the 1 Digivolving effect can be really, really large, because you can place a Digimon with Gammamon in its text from your trash at its bottom Digivolution card, and then you may delete a Digimon with a level less than or equal to the number of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. If the deck works the way it's intended, most of the time that means you're not evolving to Arcturusmon, but if you have to evolve into the Arcturusmon, it means you should be tucking cards underneath your stack pretty consistently, so your level 6 should be able to delete a level 7. If you're really lucky. It also has a really neat on deletion effect, actually, speaking of level 7s. So you can return a Digimon card from your trash to your hand, and then you can trash the Siriusmon in your hand to play a Proxyamon from your hand without paying the cost. So essentially, if like your either Proxyamon or your Siriusmon has like been deleted on the field, or it was in your security and you have the other half in your hand, you can return it, pitch out the Sirius, play the Proxymamon out. So it's a really neat way to like be able to like play out a Digimon as well. The inherit for this Digimon is also when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, if it has Gammamon in its text, which it should, then you trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. I just like trashing security because I hate activating stuff and I hate trying to battle things. But I don't usually have a problem in getting this inherit to activate, and with the cards that came out in World Convergence, it's actually a lot easier now. We're also actually going to be running a Siriusmon Ace. I know people have mixed feelings about the LM set. I actually collected all of the Ghost Game stuff because I don't have a problem at all, I promise. The Siriusmon Ace we're running at a 1 of. The reason that I really like this one, it has really good removal. It has an on-play and 1 Digivolving effect. So you can place a card with Gammamon from your hand as its bottom sources, then you delete an opponent's Digimon with 8,000 DP or less, and then for each color in its sources, you add a 1k to the effect. It also has an all turns, when a Digimon is deleted, you gain a memory. Now, the reason I really like this one is it's really synergistic with the Regulusmon, because you can force the collision, you can counter timing into this, you can delete something else, and then block with this as well. But that means you still get a memory, and sometimes being able to steal back a memory can make a difference between your opponent's turn and yours, especially if they're at 0 memory sometimes, right? Or like if they don't have a memory setter and you put them at 1 and you force them to attack with the Regulus, then you can put them at 0, and that makes their game a little bit more difficult. So we're moving on to the other part of our level 6s, and this is the one. Now this is the Siriusmon from BT21, and we are running this bad boy at a 4 of. This card, if you played pre-release, you know how scary this card was to play against. Like, this card was absolutely insane. If you had this card, you were like 90%, you were like what, 70% like a chance to win essentially. Its effects are not once per turn. It's when Digivolving and when attacking is not once per turn. You can place a Digimon card with Gammamon in the text or the Hiro trait as its bottom Digivolution card to delete one of your opponent's lowest DP Digimon. I'm not even looking at the fact that it evolves for a level 4, like for 4 on top of a 5, because 100% of the time we're evolving this for 3. The fact that it's a when Digivolving and then a when attacking effect means that you can tuck in so many things underneath its like stack to just kill like so many bodies, right? Again, your stack can get ridiculous. Like it's so insane how many things you can tuck under the single body. Security +1 is always a neat thing to have, especially when you pair it with Arcturusmons. Then you can just basically trash a card and then check for 2. Raid is also a very scary keyword because almost all the inherits that you can have on this one will give it +2k of some sort. So a lot of the times you can be swinging for what, like 20k maybe, like with a Siriusmon that's doing 2 checks. And again, its effects aren't once per turn. I think that's the funniest part about this card. Like, if it said one Digimon, one attacking once per turn, I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool. It's like a neat card to like have, and you can do it like every turn. But the fact that you can probably delete 2 things on like a swing is absolutely wild to me. I love this card. I wish it was an SR so I can have an alt art of it, but I will settle for the release events. Now, we're going to move on to the single level 7 that we have, because we are still running Proximamons. Sorry, that's actually supposed to say 2 Proximamons. We're actually running 2 of the Proximamons from RB1. I love its alterns effect. When another Digimon is deleted, you can play a level 4 lower Digimon with Gammamon in its name from your trash without paying the cost. You can recycle your security GulusGammamons, you can recycle your blocker Gammamons. Basically, this is a deck that persists and like will just not die essentially if like your cards get played out right. It can evolve for 3 on top of a Siriusmon that has an Arcturusmon in its sources, or it'll evolve for 6. There are ways to get around that are pretty neat. It also has an end of turn, so you can make the stack larger and larger, because you can place a card with Gammamon in its text from your hand or trash, so you have 2 sources, and then when you do that, you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP. So if you didn't already kill something on the evolution or like some other way, then the end of turn will trigger the alterns, and then it'll reset for your opponent's turn. It's neat. You can kill a lot if you're really lucky with this. Blocker recycle is funny. I have had games, not just in this format, but in the RB format when I first got introduced, where it was just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna block, it dies, alterns, another Digimon's deleted, I'm gonna play the blocker back out. Like, it makes your opponent kind of wonder what's in your trash, and it forces them to be a little bit more intentional with their swings. I think Pocket Recycle is funny. So that brings us now to our options. And our options are going to be this really neat option. And every time I see it, the music starts playing in my head. This is 3 of the Strongest of Brothers. I love this option. I actually waffled between playing this as a 3 and a 4 for the longest time. And like I said, I'm still working on fixing up this deck a little bit. But it's a great searcher to help fix your hand. Like, it's usually one of the cards that I want to get out on the field as soon as possible, because you can add a Gammamon in its text among the hand, and then you return the rest to the bottom, and then it gets a delay option. So it doesn't quite pick up 2 things like the Gammamon Searcher, but it can help fix your hand. So whatever you think you might need for that turn, you can just add it with this search. The delay has so many funny evolution shenanigans, because one of your Digimon can digivolve into a Digimon card with Gammamon in its text, which means you could technically evo into the BetelGammamon for free because it has Gammamon in the text. It's funny. It is also an alterns, so if they hit a security GulusGammamon and you play it out, you can tuck it underneath, you can activate this, go into your 5. If you get a Regulusmon that has an on-deletion, you can play a Siriusmon, tuck this, go into your BetelGammamon. There's a lot of really fun ways to like mess around with this card, and the fact that it's an alterns light is really, really funny. The security also lets you play out a body, and then the option is live on your turn. We're really hoping that, you know, when they hit the security that you're not dead that turn, but you can play a Gammamon in its text and a play cost of 4 or less from your hand or trash without playing the cost. So the fact that it's hand or trash is also really important, because it means you can, if you haven't been able to play it a tamer because you haven't found the right time to play it, it lets you play a tamer as well, because it says Gammamon in the text, and Hiro, Amanokawa, all of them have Gammamon in their text, so it's really neat. Just the wording on Digimon is so important sometimes, and it's really, really easy to overlook some stuff. This deck is one of those where you have to look at in its text versus Gammamon in its name type thing, and that was actually a really difficult thing to balance when the RB1 stuff came out for this one. Now that's the only option we're running, and so we're going to head on into our Tamers. Now the first of our Tamers that we're running is the RB1 Hiro Amanokawa. Now it has a really cool start of main phase. We're going to be running this at a 3 of. The start of main phase can trigger a ton of your effects, and by that I mean it can really just trigger your option card for the delay, the Strongest of Brothers, and it can actually bounce off of the new Hiro that's out in this set as well. So I did have a game where I had one of these out, and I had 2 of the cost 4 heroes, and it was like, oh cool, start of main phase, I'm gonna do all this, and I'm gonna trigger the other 2. So your turn evolution can make bodies really large. Sometimes you'll want that extra 2k DP in case you can't get the right inherits that you want. So the fact that you can suspend it when you evo into a Digimon with Gammamon in its text means that you can technically make this hybrid if you really wanted to, and I think at one point I did, but that was like early iterations of this deck. But you can always make your choice about adding that extra 2k, and sometimes it can actually make the difference, especially if you're trying to delete something that's larger and larger. Stuff like Gurimon promo in an adventure deck, which can sometimes get to 20-22k, or things like Gammamon, which because of linking can get to an absurd amount of DP, or even Arrestodramon superior modes. That thing is actually really scary too. And then our other Hiro Amanokawa that we're running is actually the BT21 one. This is the SR. We're also running this as a 3 of. I did make the decision to cut the Memory Tamer Hero, because as much as I love Memory Tamers, it didn't offer what I really wanted in this deck after some testing. So this Hiro Amanokawa from BT21 has an extra memory off of a body if your opponent has one, which is always really neat. That's, I think, a thing we've been seeing a lot, and I do actually really appreciate it, because at least you get a benefit from your opponent playing a body. The downside to this one is it is a 4-cost tamer, but generally you should be able to activate its secondary your turn effect pretty consistently, because you can get extra memory and a card for the deck just doing what it wants to do, which is tuck cards under one of your Gammamons in name or text, etc., and then you gain memory and draw a card. So it basically refills your hand for you, and again, like, the most fun part is when you have both these tamers out on the field and they can just ping off of each other. And honestly, that's kind of it. Here is the deck list, and like I said, I'm still testing it. I'm still trying to figure out ratios. I'm still deciding what if any level 4s I want to change. I think GulusGammamon is probably one of like the better level 4s to have in this one. Maybe I cut the RB1 one and maybe I put in GulusGammamon again because Can't Be Blocked is also very funny. But the neat part about Gammamon is like the fact that it has so many branching evolutions means that there's a bunch of different ways to build this deck, and this is just one of the ways that you can do it. The LM bonus sheet set also comes out with a bunch of different ways. Like there's a Regulusmon ace that you can use. There's the Professor Bokomon, which is the only Pokemon that I like. So it's really customizable to your playstyle, but my takeaway from this is honestly the Siriusmon is really good, and the Siriusmon from this set is really good, and the Strongest of Brothers is also very good. I think those two cards are absolutely insane and I love them so much. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy Gammamon. Hopefully y'all can see why I love this Digimon a lot, and honestly all he just wants is his chocolate. But thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day and have fun playing this. Let me know what you think, and again, thanks for watching. Bye.